Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, and today we're going to be looking at the top 10 new free-to-play first-person shooters for 2020. And believe me, there are some insanely good games on this list. Now before we start though, only 15% of you guys are subscribed to the channel, so if you want more videos on free-to-play games and more top 10s, then make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. It costs nothing, it's free, and it helps the channel a ton. But with that said, let's get right into it. Coming in at the number 10 spot, we've got Hellbound Survival Mode, a 90s style FPS that scratches the Doom and Duke Nukem itch. The concept is quite simple. You fight against rounds of enemies on a small island until you die, with the main emphasis being on the adrenaline rushing combat. The movement and gun mechanics are on point for the era it's trying to replicate, focusing on over-the-top action first and foremost, but the game also has a 2020 coat of paint which makes it look fantastic. Despite the simple idea, it's addicting trying to beat your personal record, and the amount of enemies gets insane at the later levels, so add that and the amount of guns and it's a whole lot of fun. Hellbound is also pretty easy to run as it's a rather low spec game, so there's no excuse not to try this if you're a Doom or even just an FPS fan. A surprise addition to this list is Coulson, an FPS heavily influenced by Superhot made by sole developer and YouTuber Danny. The game focuses on parkour with traditional FPS elements, with a sprinkling of slow-mo and sliding as well, resulting in a frantic and captivating experience. There's quite a few different levels and 3 different game modes, that being Sandbox, Escape and Sky, which forces you to play the game very differently depending on your objective. Now while I do like single player games, I know you guys want some multiplayer action, and that's exactly why I'm including Coulson in this list, as Danny is developing a multiplayer mode as well, and from the gameplay he has shown, it looks absolutely amazing. If you haven't heard of Crossfire before, I don't blame you, as in the West, this free-to-play first-person shooter is basically non-existent. However, because of Asia, Crossfire is the most popular FPS game in the world. Cue Crossfire X, the latest offering from original Crossfire developer Smilegate being published by the one and only Microsoft, with the goal to try to bring back Crossfire to the Western market. Judging by the gameplay trailer, Crossfire X is heavily inspired by games such as Counter-Strike Global Offensive, but with even more stylized gameplay and upgraded graphics, attempting to be the true sequel Crossfire fans have been yearning for. With a 2020 release window and a free-to-play tag, it all seems perfect. However, one thing that will definitely disappoint is that Crossfire X is only being released on Xbox consoles. Yep, that means no PC. I do like covering console games, so I still wanted to include this, but it seems like a very tone-deaf choice given that the original game's fanbase was on the PC. Tell me in the comment section below what you think. Next up, we've got Quantum League, a time paradox FPS that completely changes the way you think of first-person shooters. Now the concept, which is a little bit difficult to grasp at first, is actually pretty genius, and basically there are 3 loops. In the first loop, you move your character like any normal first-person shooter and try to take out your opponent, while also trying to capture an objective in the center of the map. After that loop ends, you rewind to the start and play the second loop, again controlling your character and so on. But there's also a clone that does everything you do in the first loop, movement, shooting, all that. It's like you're having a second player on your team. Same thing goes for the last loop, so it turns into a 3v3 by the end of it and it opens up so many mind games. Now the gameplay itself is fast and frantic, with there being 5 different weapons that you can choose from at the start of every loop. The graphics, while a bit cartoonish, look quite nice and are easy to run, meaning a lot of people can play this game. Add in the fact that Quantum League has 1v1 and 2v2 modes, and overall, despite the kind of weird concept, it's a fairly easy to pick up and play game, which is pretty cool indeed. Warface is a game that we've talked about quite a bit on this channel. It's a popular military first-person shooter developed by Crytek that has decent graphics for free-to-play standards and fairly decent gameplay. I voiced my complaints about this game over the years due to its pay-to-win aspects, which makes it even weirder that I'm including it on this list, not only because of those issues, but also because this game was released all the way back in 2013, so this definitely isn't a new game. However, before you hate on me in the comments, I do have a very good reason for including it, and that's because Warface was officially released on the Nintendo Switch early this year in the free-to-play section. I know most of you guys want new PC games and we'll be back to them very shortly, but as a Switch fan myself, I was really impressed with how Warface turned out on this small console, and I thought it would be worth including. The frame rate is decent, graphics look nice, active player base, and as the first real free-to-play first-person shooter on the Switch, Warface is pretty damn good, and that's reason enough to give it this spot. On top of that, the PC version of Warface isn't actually that bad. Yes, the pay-to-win aspects are there, but overall the gameplay and the maps and the modes are quite substantial. It has a lot of content, and overall, if you are a PC military FPS fan, this is a decent game to go and check out too. Next up on this list we have The Cycle, one of the hottest free-to-play games out right now. To put it simply, this game is a combination of player versus player and player versus environment combat in a pseudo battle royale format, where you as the prospector have to complete as many contracts as possible and then evacuate before the cycle kills you. The spicy twist is that in solos you can team up with somebody that you don't even know to further yourself in the match, but you can also betray them later on to take them out. Add duos and squads into the mix where packs can't be broken, and there is a ton of stuff to check out in The Cycle. On a side note for you console gamers out there, I've heard rumours down the grapevine that The Cycle is coming to the Xbox One and the PS4, which would be an exciting thing indeed. Subscribe to the channel to keep yourself updated. It can't be a real top 10 free-to-play first-person shooters list without a Call of Duty-like game. However, for this one, we actually get the real thing in the form of Black Ops 2 Plutonium. This game is a fan-modded version of Black Ops 2 with a simple goal: revive the Call of Duty PC community for Black Ops 2 and revert the game to the best state possible. With a server browser built into this mod, custom lobbies are aplenty, making this game perfect for trickshotters and reg gunners alike, with trickshotting lobbies along with 24/7 Nuketown TDM servers being available. It was a blast from the past playing this game, and it holds up so well in 2020, and for good reason, as Black Ops 2 is by far one of the best Call of Duty games from the past decade, and it was released all the way back in 2012. While technically this is a client and you should be using a legit Steam port version of Black Ops 2, it is possible to download this game for free using the Plutonium client and then play it that way, which means this game gets a spot in the top 10 list. Alright guys, let's talk about one of the most hyped free-to-play first-person shooters right now, that being Diabotical. A spiritual successor to the Quake series, Diabotical has been in development for over 5 years, and the results are pretty amazing. A high-quality arena first-person shooter made by former Quake and esports professionals. Diabotical is an attempt to revive the long-lost arena FPS genre, and it does it pretty damn well. Attractive graphics mixed with pinpoint Quake gameplay with an emphasis on speed and performance. The dev team is dedicated and it shows. Diabotical is a shining example of what arena FPS should be, and it would be a massive shame to not check this game out. Next up, we have the CSGO TF2 Overwatch-ish fusion known as Valorant, Riot Games' first venture into the first-person shooter world. Valorant is an FPS focused on CSGO-like weapon lethality, but also ability usage, as there's many different characters, each with their own skill sets. Judging from the gameplay and from what the developers have said, Valorant looks like a competitive first-person shooter first and foremost, with the extremely quick time to kill removing any doubt that this game is like Overwatch. However, then add in the classes and it's got the charm of games such as Dirty Bomb and Rainbow Six Siege, that dynamicness of you pick the character that you really associate with. Now, as of recording, Valorant isn't live, but the closed beta is just around the corner and I'm so excited to play this game, so subscribe for tons of content. Now, I would have given this game the #1 spot, but the fact that it's not out yet and I personally haven't played it, along with the fact that the #1 game is just so damn good, is reason enough for it to live at the #2 spot for now, but who knows where it'll be when I revise this list near the end of the year. Coming in at the #1 spot, we have Call of Duty Warzone, which is Call of Duty Battle Royale, but free to play, and it's bloody amazing. It takes the base game of 2019's Modern Warfare, the graphics, the gameplay, the everything, and then straps in a feature-fledged Battle Royale mode that very much competes with the likes of Apex Legends. How it does this is because Warzone doesn't reinvent the wheel, rather it removes the boring parts of the Battle Royale experience and simplifies the process, but doesn't compromise on the overall enjoyment. Firstly, it simplifies the inventory system. You pick up your guns and your ammo and that's it. No messing around with menus, but then it adds gameplay complexity in the form of in-match cash. Killing enemies and completing objectives rewards you with cash, where you can buy silver revives, armor plates and loadouts among others, adding incentive to get in there and actually fight so you can get the good weapons for late game. With solos and squads for Battle Royale, along with an extra mode called Plunder for variety, Warzone does have a ton of content, and if you do decide to buy Modern Warfare, all your progress is saved, so it's a frictionless transition into the multiplayer component. Overall, Call of Duty Warzone is a fantastic game, and one of the highest quality free-to-play releases in a very long time, making it well deserving of the #1 spot. And that, my friends, is the end of this top 10. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe for more top 10s. But other than that, Undercover Dudes all the way from down under, out.